Luna Martinez had what you might generously call a gift. Or if you were Luna herself, you'd call it a cosmic joke played by a universe with a particularly twisted sense of humor. She could speak to any creature in the galaxy. Any creature at all. Which sounds impressive until you realize that most alien conversations revolve around the same three topics: food, bathroom locations, and complaining about the weather. Another thrilling day at Research Station Nowhere, Luna muttered, staring at her computer screen displaying what appeared to be a Regalian shopping list. Let's see. They need milk, bread, and oh fantastic, 17 pounds of fermented grub paste. She rubbed her temples. I spent 8 years in xenolinguistics school for this. The irony wasn't lost on her. Earth's first and only universal translator, stationed at the galaxy's most boring research outpost, spending her days deciphering alien grocery lists and parking violations. It was like being a Formula One driver assigned to deliver pizza. Martinez. The voice belonged to Captain Rick Bronson, her military liaison and the human embodiment of a rulebook. Rick had never met a regulation he didn't want to marry and have little regulation babies with. Status report on the Centauri diplomatic correspondence. Luna spun around in her chair wearing her trademark expression of barely contained sarcasm. Oh, it's riveting, Rick. Ambassador Glorg wants to know if we've considered switching to a more efficient sewage system. Apparently, ours smells like rotting fish to them. That's Captain Bronson, Martinez. And it's important diplomatic intelligence. Right, because nothing says galactic peace like discussing alien toilet preferences. Luna turned back to her screen. Face it, Rick, we're the cosmic equivalent of a DMV office. Nobody wants to be here, but someone has to process the paperwork. Rick straightened his already perfect uniform. Our work here maintains crucial relationships with 14 different species. Without proper translation protocols, 14 species who mostly want to tell us about their digestive problems. Luna interrupted. The Zephyrians complain about our air making them gassy. The molluscoids think our music sounds like dying whales. And don't get me started on what the Crystalline Collective thinks about human body odor. It's still vital work. Luna laughed, a sound with absolutely zero humor in it. Rick, yesterday I spent 3 hours translating a formal complaint from the Aquatic Union about how our space stations don't have enough pools. The day before that I mediated a dispute between 2 alien janitors about proper floor mopping technique. This isn't diplomacy. This is intergalactic customer service. Rick opened his mouth to deliver what would undoubtedly be another speech about duty and protocol, but Luna held up a hand. Look, I get it. Someone has to do this job, and apparently, that someone is me, because I'm the only human who can understand when an alien says your coffee tastes like battery acids in 47 different languages. She gestured at the walls of their cramped station, floating in the middle of absolutely nowhere. But let's be honest about what this is. I'm not Earth's greatest diplomatic asset. I'm a very expensive universal translator stuck in the galaxy's most boring waiting room. Rick's jaw tightened. Your attitude is exactly why. Why what? Why I'm not fulfilling my cosmic destiny. Luna's voice dripped with mock enthusiasm. Sorry to disappoint, but apparently my destiny involves explaining to fish people why humans don't breathe underwater. Revolutionary stuff really. What Luna didn't know, as she sat there drowning in alien complaints about human inadequacies, was that in approximately 37 minutes, her boring little life was about to become significantly more interesting. The kind of interesting that usually involved explosions, screaming, and a dramatic reassessment of one's life choices. But for now, she was just Luna Martinez, professional translator of cosmic complaints, wondering if it was too late to change careers to something more exciting, like accounting. 37 minutes later, Luna was seriously reconsidering her stance on excitement. The first sign of trouble wasn't the blaring alarms or the flashing red lights. It was Rick dropping his coffee mug. Rick never dropped anything. Rick treated his belongings with the same reverence most people reserve for religious artifacts. Martinez, we have a situation. Rick's voice had gone from regulation reciting monotone to something approaching actual human emotion. Long-range sensors are detecting multiple unidentified vessels approaching at high speed. Luna glanced at her screen, where alien grocery lists had been replaced by something far more concerning. Define multiple, 47 ships. Dreadnought class. Well, Luna said, with the kind of calm that comes from knowing you're absolutely doomed, that's significantly more exciting than Regalian shopping lists. The communications array crackled to life, and a voice boomed through their tiny station. Luna's universal translation kicked in automatically, turning alien growls into perfectly understandable threats. Pathetic humans of Research Station. There was a pause. What's this place called again? Station Echo 7, came a different voice in the background. Right? Pathetic humans of Research Station Echo 7. You have the honor of being conquered by the mighty Korthak Empire. I am Commander Vex Korthak, scourge of 17 star systems and terror of the galactic trade routes. Luna blinked. Did he just forget the name of the place he's invading? Surrender immediately. Commander Vex continued. And your deaths will be swift and moderately painless. Resist, and we'll make you listen to Korthak poetry before we vaporize you. Okay, that's just cruel, Luna muttered. Rick was frantically pressing buttons on his console. Martinez, I need you to open a channel. We have to try diplomatic contact. Rick, they literally just threatened us with bad poetry. That's not a diplomatic opening. That's psychological warfare. Do it. Luna sighed and opened the channel. Greetings, Commander Vex. This is Research Station Echo 7. We're a scientific outpost with no military value whatsoever. Attacking us would be like swatting a particularly unimportant fly. Silence, human. The Korthak Empire conquers all in its path. Your station will serve as an example to other species of our supreme might. An example of what? Exactly. That you can blow up a research station full of translators and coffee machines. That's not supremacy. That's just showing off. There was another pause. Are you mocking me? I'm trying to point out the logical flaws in your strategy, but sure, let's call it mocking. Rick grabbed Luna's arm. What are you doing? Apparently getting us killed with sarcasm, instead of bad poetry. At least it's more dignified. Commander Vex's voice returned, now with an edge of irritation. You dare insult the Korthak Empire. We have conquered species across the galaxy. We are feared throughout known space. Right? But here's the thing, Luna said, warming to her theme. Conquering a research station is like beating up a librarian. Sure, you can do it, but it doesn't really prove you're tough. It just proves you have questionable life choices. That's it. Prepare to face the full might of. The transmission cut off as Luna's console exploded in a shower of sparks. Well, she said, brushing debris off her uniform. I think we can safely say diplomacy has failed. Rick was already moving toward the emergency pods. Martinez, we need to evacuate. Now. What about the station's data? What about our lives? Luna grabbed her portable translation unit and followed Rick toward the escape pods. You know, Rick, I'm starting to think this job has more excitement than advertised. Behind them, Research Station Echo 7 began to break apart under Korthak weapons fire, taking with it Luna's boring old life and launching her toward a destiny she never saw coming. Their escape pod was what you might charitably call compact. What you might honestly call it was a tin can with delusions of grandeur. Luna found herself pressed against Rick in a space designed by someone who clearly had never met two actual humans. Well, this is cozy, Luna said, trying to reach the communications panel without elbowing Rick in the face. Nothing like imminent death to bring people together. Focus, Martinez. We need to send a distress signal to Earth Command. Luna managed to activate the long-range scanner and immediately wished she hadn't. Rick, we've got bigger problems than our cramped accommodations. There are Korthak fleets heading toward every major human colony. How many fleets? All of them by the looks of it. Luna's fingers flew over the controls. This isn't just an attack on our station, this is a full-scale invasion. Rick's face went pale, which was impressive considering their current lighting situation. Can you reach Earth? I'm trying, but there's so much chatter on the emergency frequencies. Luna paused, her universal translation ability kicking into overdrive. Wait. Rick, I'm picking up communications from dozens of different species. And they're not talking to the Korthak. What are they saying? Luna listened for a moment, her expression shifting from concern to something approaching amazement. They're talking about the Korthak. And Rick? They hate them. I mean really, really hate them. She adjusted the scanner, tuning into different frequencies. A cacophony of alien voices filled the tiny pod, and Luna's brain automatically sorted them into understandable speech. The Zephyrians are calling them tentacled bullies with delusions of competence. The molluscoids refer to them as the galactic equivalent of a bad rash. And the crystalline collective, wow, they're using words I didn't even know existed in their language. And none of them are complimentary. If everyone hates them, why hasn't anyone fought back? Luna continued scanning frequencies, piecing together fragments of conversations. Because they're terrified of them. The Korthak have been systematically conquering or intimidating every species they encounter. But here's the thing, Rick. They're not actually that tough. They're just really, really good at making threats. A new voice crackled through the comm system, speaking in a rapid, high-pitched language that sounded like an angry chipmunk having a caffeine overdose. Oh, that's interesting, Luna said, leaning forward. That's Zilonian. They're usually pretty peaceful. What are they saying? Hold on. Okay, this is from someone calling themselves Pip. and they are absolutely furious about the Korthak attack on the human research station. Apparently they've been waiting for someone to finally stand up to the Korthak Empire. Rick frowned. We didn't stand up to them. We ran away. No, but I insulted them first. To a lot of species that counts as standing up to them. Luna grinned. Rick, I think I just accidentally declared war on behalf of humanity. That's not funny, Martinez. It's a little funny. Luna's expression grew more serious as she continued monitoring the communications. But here's what's not funny. Every species in this sector has been pushed around by the Korthak for years. They've all been waiting for someone else to make the first move. And you think that someone is us. I think that someone might be me. Luna turned to face Rick in their cramped space. Rick, what if the Korthak's biggest weakness isn't their military strategy or their technology? What if it's their complete inability to understand that other species might actually work together? Rick looked skeptical. You're suggesting we coordinate with alien species against the Korthak. I'm suggesting that I'm the only human who can talk to all these species. And they're all sitting around waiting for someone to organize them into actually doing something about their Korthak problem. A new transmission came through, this one in the deep resonant tones of what Luna recognized as a geological being. She listened for a moment, then looked at Rick with growing excitement. That was Grex of the Stonewalkers. They're offering to share intelligence about Korthak fleet movements. Rick, this could actually work. What could work? Luna's grin was becoming genuinely manic. The most ridiculous plan in galactic history. We're going to turn the Korthak Empire's own arrogance against them. Rick stared at her. Martinez, have you completely lost your mind? Probably. But Rick, for the first time in my life, my completely useless talent for talking to aliens might actually be useful for something other than translating complaints about human coffee. Outside their tiny pod, the Korthak fleet continued its advance, completely unaware that they had just made a critical strategic error. They had attacked the one human who could unite every species they had ever bullied into a coalition of very motivated enemies. And Luna Martinez was just getting started. What followed was either the most brilliant military strategy in galactic history or the most elaborate suicide attempt ever recorded. Luna preferred to think of it as both. Okay, Rick, here's the plan, Luna announced, her fingers dancing across the communication controls of their increasingly crowded escape pod. We're going to create the galaxy's first multilingual, multi-species, anti-Korthak alliance. Using what army? Using every army. Well, everyone who has an army, and everyone who doesn't have an army but has really strong feelings about the Korthak. Rick watched as Luna's screen filled with incoming transmissions from species he'd never even heard of. Martinez, you're talking about coordinating beings who can't even agree on basic physics, let alone military strategy. That's the beauty of it. Luna's voice took on the tone of someone explaining something blindingly obvious. The Korthak expect everyone to fight them separately. They've never faced a coordinated response because nobody's ever been able to coordinate one. She opened a channel to the Zolonian frequency. Pip, are you still there? The reply came in rapid-fire squeaks that made Rick wince. Luna nodded along as if she were listening to a perfectly normal conversation. What are they saying? Pip says their people have been mapping Korthak patrol routes for months, waiting for an opportunity. They've got detailed intelligence on fleet movements, supply lines, and communication frequencies. The Zolonians are military strategists. Luna laughed. Rick, the Zolonians are 3 feet tall and look like angry teddy bears. But they're also the galaxy's best reconnaissance specialists. The Korthak never even noticed them. Another transmission came through, this one in the deep, rumbling tones that seemed to make the pod's hull vibrate. That's Grex, Luna explained. They're offering to provide geological intelligence about asteroid fields and planetary defenses. Apparently when you live for 10,000 years, you pick up a lot of information about strategic locations. Rick was beginning to look overwhelmed. How many species are we talking about here? Luna consulted her growing list of contacts. So far, 37. And that's just in the last 10 minutes. A new signal came through, this one consisting entirely of what sounded like whale songs played through a synthesizer. Oh, that's the Aquatic Union, Luna said cheerfully. They're offering to disrupt Korthak supply convoys near the water worlds. Turns out being amphibious is a major tactical advantage when your enemy breathes air. This is insane. This is beautiful. Luna's eyes were practically glowing with excitement. Rick, do you realize what we're looking at here? We've got reconnaissance specialists, geological engineers, aquatic commandos, and that's just the first 3 species. The Crystalline Collective has hacking capabilities that make our best computer systems look like pocket calculators. Rick gestured helplessly at the chaos of alien communications filling their pod. But how are you going to coordinate all of this? Half these species communicate through scent markers. A quarter of them can only see in ultraviolet. And don't get me started on the ones that think in geological time. That's what I'm for, Luna said simply. I'm the universal adapter, the galactic translation matrix, the cosmic switchboard operator. She opened another channel, this one emitting a series of crystalline chimes that somehow managed to sound irritated. The shard speakers want to know if we have a plan beyond everyone attack at once and hope for the best, Luna translated. Do we? Luna's grin could have powered a small starship. Rick, we're about to implement the most sophisticated military operation in galactic history, and it's going to work because the Korthak are too arrogant to believe it's possible. She began rapidly switching between communication channels, her voice shifting to accommodate different species' communication styles. To the Zolonians, she spoke in quick, precise bursts. To Grex, she used longer, more philosophical sentences. To the Aquatic Union, she somehow managed to make her voice sound like it was underwater. Here's what we're going to do, Luna announced to the growing coalition. The Korthak fleet is spread across 17 star systems, attacking colonies and research stations in a predictable pattern. They're so confident in their superiority that they're not even bothering with proper fleet coordination. Rick watched in amazement as Luna juggled conversations with dozens of alien species simultaneously. How are you keeping track of all this? Years of translating alien complaints prepared me for multitasking, Luna replied without missing a beat. Pip, can your people confirm the Korthak fleet's position near the Centauri colonies? Grex, we need to know about asteroid cover in that system. Aquatic Union, are there any water worlds along their projected route? The responses came flooding in, each in their own language, and Luna processed them all with the ease of someone reading a shopping list. Perfect, she announced. The Korthak Third Fleet is heading for the human colonies near Proxima Centauri. They'll have to pass through the Kepler asteroid field, and there's a water world called Aquatica Prime right along their route. She opened a general channel to all the allied species. Here's the plan. Pip's people will provide real-time intelligence on Korthak movements. Grex will use their geological knowledge to create navigation hazards in the asteroid field. The Aquatic Union will stage diversionary attacks from Aquatica Prime, and the Crystalline Collective will jam Korthak communications at precisely the right moment. Rick stared at her. And what about the humans? Luna's smile was pure predator. Humans are going to do what we do best. We're going to be completely unpredictable. A new transmission came through, this one in a language that sounded like musical mathematics. Oh, excellent, Luna said. The harmonic engineers want to join. They can use sound waves to disrupt Korthak engine frequencies. Rick looked around their tiny pod, now filled with the chatter of 36 alien species all talking at once, coordinated by one sarcastic human with a talent for languages. Martinez, he said slowly. I think you might actually be insane enough to pull this off. Luna opened a channel to Commander Vex's fleet, her voice dripping with false concern. Commander Vex, this is Luna Martinez from the research station you just destroyed. I wanted to thank you. Thank me. Vex's voice crackled with confusion. Oh yes, you've done something remarkable. You've managed to unite every species in this sector against you. Congratulations, you've achieved what thousands of years of diplomacy couldn't accomplish. There was a long pause. You're bluffing. Am I? Check your long-range sensors, Commander. You might find the next few hours very educational. Luna closed the channel and turned to Rick, her expression a mixture of determination and barely contained glee. Operation Galactic Group Chat is now in effect. Let's see how the mighty Korthak Empire handles their first coordinated resistance. Outside their pod, 37 different species were preparing to teach the galaxy's biggest bullies a lesson they would never forget. What happened next would be studied in military academies for centuries, assuming any of the military academies survived the next hour. Luna sat in the middle of their tiny escape pod, surrounded by communication screens, showing feeds from across 3-star systems, looking like the world's most sarcastic air traffic controller during the galaxy's busiest day. Pup report, she said into her headset. The response came in excited squeaks. Korthak Third Fleet just entered the Kepler asteroid field. 17 dreadnoughts, 43 destroyers, and one really big ship that Pip says looks like a space station with anger management issues. Rick peered at the tactical display. That's their command vessel. If we can take that out. One thing at a time, Luna interrupted, switching to another channel. Grex, are you in position? The response rumbled through their pod like distant thunder. Luna nodded along with what sounded like geological poetry. Grex says the asteroid field is ready. They've spent the last hour encouraging several large asteroids to develop navigation-unfriendly attitudes. I love how they talk. On the main display, the Korthak fleet was moving through the asteroid field with typical arrogance, their ships arranged in perfect formation as if they were on parade instead of entering a potential combat zone. Commander Vex to all ships, came the transmission that Luna automatically translated. Maintain formation. These primitive species cannot possibly coordinate an effective resistance. Luna switched to the Aquatic Union frequency. Splash team, you're up. The response sounded like whale songs mixed with battle hymns. 3 water worlds along the Korthak route suddenly erupted with activity as amphibious forces launched surprise attacks on Korthak supply convoys. Commander Vex's voice crackled over the comm, now with a note of irritation. What was that? Report. Sir, we're receiving distress calls from supply groups 7, 12 and 19. They're under attack by. It appears to be swimming creatures, sir. Swimming creatures. In space. No, sir, they're attacking our supply stations on the water worlds. The creatures appear to be using the oceans for cover and mobility. Luna grinned. The Aquatic Union doesn't just live in water, they weaponize it. Those supply stations were built on oceanfront property because the Korthak thought water meant safety. She switched channels again. Harmonic engineers, initiate Phase 2. What followed could only be described as the galaxy's most destructive concert. From hidden positions throughout the asteroid field, the harmonic engineers began broadcasting precisely tuned sound waves designed to interfere with Korthak engine frequencies. The effect was immediate and spectacular. Half the Korthak fleet suddenly found their engines producing sounds like dying whales mixed with fingernails on chalkboards. What is happening to my ships? Commander Vex demanded. Sir, our engines are experiencing harmonic interference. Engineering reports that the frequency is somehow targeting our specific engine design. That's impossible. No species has that level of technical knowledge about our systems. Luna laughed out loud. That's what happens when you've been bullying people for decades, Vex. They study you. They learn your weaknesses. They get creative. She opened a channel to the Crystalline Collective. What came back sounded like wind chimes having an argument with a computer. Beautiful, Luna translated. They've just hacked into the Korthak communication network. Commander Vex is about to have a very confusing day. Across the Korthak fleet, communication systems began receiving contradictory orders in perfect Korthak military protocol. Ships were told to attack coordinates that turned out to be other Korthak ships. Formations were ordered to split apart and regroup in patterns that made no tactical sense. This is chaos. Commander Vex roared. All ships, ignore previous orders and maintain current positions. Which previous orders, sir? Came a confused reply. We've received 17 different sets of orders in the last 5 minutes. Luna was practically glowing with satisfaction. Rick, this is better than I hoped. The Korthak have spent so long intimidating everyone else that they never learned to adapt to unconventional tactics. Martinez, incoming transmission. It's from everywhere. Luna looked at her screen and saw something that made her heart swell with pride. 37 different species were all broadcasting on the same frequency, each in their own language, creating a cacophony of defiance that her universal translation turned into a single unified message. Korthak Empire. Your time is over. Commander Vex's voice returned, now with obvious panic. This is impossible. You cannot coordinate this many species. The logistics alone, Commander Luna interrupted. Broadcasting on all frequencies. You made one tiny mistake. You assumed that just because other species couldn't talk to each other, they couldn't work together. You never considered that someone might come along who could talk to everyone. You're just one human. One human with a really useful skill set and 37 new friends who are very tired of your attitude. On the tactical display, the Korthak fleet was in complete disarray. Ships were colliding with asteroids that seemed to move into their path at the worst possible moments. Their communications were filled with false orders and harmonic interference. Their supply lines were under attack by creatures they'd never encountered before. Grex, initiate Phase 3, Luna announced. The asteroid field suddenly became much more aggressive. Rocks that had been drifting peacefully for millions of years suddenly developed strong opinions about Korthak ship movements. The geological engineers had turned the entire field into a navigation nightmare. Pip, final phase. Light them up. From seemingly empty space, dozens of small ships decloaked around the Korthak fleet. The Zilonians had been waiting in perfect camouflage, and now they struck with precision that would have impressed a Swiss watchmaker. All ships, retreat. Commander Vex finally ordered. Fall back to the. His transmission cut off as the harmonic engineers focused their sound weapons on his command ship, turning his bridge into a sonic weapon testing facility. Luna opened a final channel to the Korthak fleet. Commander Vex, this has been Luna Martinez with the Galactic Welcome Wagon. Thank you for choosing our sector for your invasion attempt. Please note that return visits are strongly discouraged. The remaining Korthak ships limped away from the battle, their perfect formations replaced by a chaotic retreat that would have been comical if it weren't so thoroughly satisfying. Luna leaned back in her chair, surrounded by the celebratory sounds of 37 different species expressing joy in 37 different ways. Rick, she said. I think I finally found a job I'm good at. Rick stared at the tactical display showing the retreating Korthak fleet. Martinez, you just coordinated the first successful multi-species military operation in galactic history. I know. Luna's grin was pure satisfaction. And the best part, they never saw it coming because they couldn't believe it was possible. Outside their tiny pod, 37 species were celebrating the galaxy's newest hero, a sarcastic human translator who had just proven that sometimes the most powerful weapon in the universe is the ability to help others work together. 6 months later, Luna Martinez sat in her new office aboard the diplomatic station orbiting Earth, staring at a job title that still made her laugh. Director of Intergalactic Communications and Coordinator of Multi-Species Relations. The nameplate was so long it barely fit on her desk. You know, she said to Rick, who was now her official military liaison and had developed an almost human sense of humor. When I was translating alien grocery lists, I never imagined I'd end up with a job title that sounds like it was created by a committee of over-enthusiastic bureaucrats. Rick, who now wore the insignia of a full colonel, grinned. Better than professional translator of cosmic complaints. Is it though? Luna gestured at the stack of diplomatic requests on her desk. Yesterday I had to mediate a dispute between the Crystalline Collective and the Harmonic Engineers about whose victory celebration was too loud. The day before that, Pip's people sent a formal complaint that the victory feast didn't include enough fermented seeds. But they're friendly complaints now. True. It's amazing how much more pleasant alien grievances are when they come from allies instead of random strangers who think humans smell funny. A soft chime indicated an incoming transmission, and Luna's screen lit up with a familiar face. Well, familiar collection of crystalline structures that passed for a face. Shard speaker resonance, Luna said warmly. How can I help you today? The response came in musical tones that Luna's brain automatically converted to speech. Oh, they want to know if the humans would be interested in a joint cultural exchange program. Apparently, they're fascinated by something called jazz music. Rick raised an eyebrow. Jazz music. The Crystalline Collective experiences sound as visual patterns. They think human music creates the most beautiful light shows in the galaxy. Luna typed a response. I'll connect them with Earth's cultural ministry. This should be interesting. Another chime, another call. This time Pip's excited squeaking filled the office. Pip says the Zilonian Council wants to establish a permanent intelligence sharing agreement with Earth. They're offering to teach human scouts their camouflage techniques in exchange for lessons in creative insult delivery during combat situations. They want to learn how to be sarcastic. Apparently, my tactical communications during the battle have become legendary. Who knew that mocking your enemies while coordinating their defeat would become a recognized military technique? The next call came from Grex, whose geological patience had made them the perfect mediator for long-term diplomatic negotiations. Grex wants to know if Earth would be interested in hosting the first Galactic Anti-Bullying Conference. Luna translated after listening to several minutes of what sounded like tectonic plates having a philosophical discussion. They think the techniques we used against the Korthak could be applied to other galactic troublemakers. Rick leaned back in his chair. A year ago humanity was barely a footnote in galactic politics. Now we're hosting peace conferences. A year ago, I was translating alien complaints about our sewage systems. Now I'm apparently the galaxy's go-to person for organizing multilingual military coalitions. Luna shook her head. The universe has a seriously twisted sense of humor. Another transmission came through. This one from a frequency Luna recognized immediately. It was Commander Vex. Oh, this should be good, Luna said, opening the channel. Commander Vex's voice had lost much of its arrogant bluster. Luna Martinez, I am transmitting under a flag of truce. Commander Vex, how lovely to hear from you. How's the exile treating you? The Korthak High Command was displeased with my performance. I've been demoted to Commander of Waste Management for the Outer Rim territories. Luna couldn't suppress a snort of laughter. From conquering star systems to managing garbage disposal. That's quite a career trajectory. That is, the experience of facing coordinated resistance was educational. Are you apologizing, Commander? There was a long pause. The Korthak Empire wishes to explore the possibility of diplomatic relations with the Terran Alliance and its extensive network of allies. Luna looked at Rick, who was trying not to laugh. Rick, did the Korthak Empire just ask us for a playdate? I believe they're requesting diplomatic normalization. Same thing, really. Luna leaned into her microphone. Commander, I'll have our diplomatic corps prepare a proposal. But I should warn you, any agreement will need to be approved by 37 different species, each with their own opinions about your empire's past behavior. I understand, and Martinez. Yes, your tactical coordination during the battle was impressive. Frustrating, but impressive. Luna grinned. Why, Commander, are you giving me a professional compliment? Perhaps. The Korthak Military Academy is considering adding a course on unconventional multi-species coordinations to their curriculum. They've asked me to recommend an instructor. And I told them to ask the human who turned 37 different species into a single highly motivated and remarkably creative military force using nothing but translation skills and an attitude problem. After Vex signed off, Luna sat back in her chair, looking out the viewport at the steady stream of alien ships arriving at Earth's new diplomatic station. You know, Rick, I think I finally understand what my guidance counselor meant when she said I had unique communication skills. What did you think she meant? I thought she was politely saying I was unemployable. Luna gestured at the bustling station around them. Turns out, being able to talk to anyone in the galaxy is actually a pretty useful skill when you need to organize a galactic coalition against space bullies. Rick stood up, straightening his uniform. Well, Director Martinez, I hate to interrupt your moment of self-reflection, but you have a conference call with the Aquatic Union in 10 minutes. Something about establishing underwater cities for multi-species cooperation. Luna groaned theatrically. From alien grocery lists to underwater city planning. My career path makes absolutely no sense. But, Luna admitted, her grin returning, it's definitely more interesting than accounting. As Rick left her office, Luna looked at her reflection in the dark viewport. A year ago, she'd been a frustrated translator stuck in the galaxy's most boring job. Now she was the director of intergalactic communications, coordinator of the galaxy's most successful military alliance, and apparently, the universe's leading expert on turning sarcasm into a diplomatic tool. She opened a channel to all 37 allied species for her daily coordination meeting. Good morning, everyone, she said, her voice carrying across dozens of star systems to beings who communicated through everything, from squeaks to geological poetry. This is Luna Martinez with your daily briefing. First item on the agenda, the Korthak Empire wants to discuss peace terms. Second item, the Crystalline Collective wants to learn jazz. Third item, apparently, I need to design an underwater city. The responses came flooding in from across the galaxy, each in their own language, each adding their own perspective to the day's challenges. And Luna Martinez, former professional translator of cosmic complaints, now galactic coordinator and part-time miracle worker, settled in to do what she did best. Help everyone understand each other. After all, in a universe full of different species who all wanted to get along, sometimes the most important job is simply knowing how to listen. Even if half of them still think human coffee tastes like battery acid.